So I took a bit of a break from the whole pacifist run stuff, but now I'm back with another one. It's time for the Skylander Swap Force pacifist run. If you're watching this, I'm guessing you've seen the previous two videos and you already know the rules, but just in case this is new to someone, I can't use any attacks if they're gonna deal damage to an enemy. The only exception is Lightning Rod, whose clouds I don't count as an attack, as I don't need to press any buttons to do them, so he's allowed for every fight that is unavoidable. I can't use any light cores or items to deal damage. An enemy dying without getting attacked by me is allowed, and that's it for the rules. I think it's pretty easy to understand, and as always, I needed help for this run as I could never figure this shit out on my own, and this time it was Physio Ninja who held my hand for pretty much every single level, and Physio Ninja has a couple of guides on YouTube for the Swap Force glitches, so definitely check that channel out if you're interested in the Skylander speedrunning. The channel is linked in the description, and again, massive thanks to Physio Ninja. This video would not be possible without that help. This whole volcano section is easy because I don't even need to play it. The game just kills the enemies on its own and the level starts after the section is done. So now that that's done, we can start playing the game. Wrong. Without a second of any actual gameplay, I immediately need to start doing skips, and for that I need 2 sprockets.
Your booty is heavy duty, like diarrhea.
Now Sprocket was one of the most important Skylanders in the Giants run, but here she's not only important, but she's literally 90% of this run. There's only one level where I don't use her, and her skips are also completely different from the ones in Giants. There are 4 types of sprocket skips that I will be doing, but for this level, I need to do the one that takes the longest amount of time, and it's only done in this level and the last level. There is some stuff you need to do before you even attempt any of these skips. One sprocket needs to have the tank upgrade and nothing more, while the other one can't have any upgrades. Also, before every single skip, it's mandatory that you place a turret on both of their heads, because that pretty much activates the bugs. Now what I need to do here is first activate this dialogue so that it doesn't mess up my skip, then I go back and place a small turret on the edge of this rock, jump into it, and then repeatedly jump into turrets with the other sprocket while going forward, which will drag the other sprocket with me even though her turret stays in the same place. I need to drag her all the way to here, and then I place a big turret here, and then I need to enter the big turret and jump out of the small turret at the same time, and then... yeah, that will happen. Well, Swap Force fans, I hate to say it, but there goes the argument that this is the most polished game in the franchise. I mean, other than warping, this has gotta be the craziest skip in the series. This is actually one of the easiest sprocket glitches, even though it's one of the more complicated ones to understand. I honestly think I've never actually failed this one, and that brings me pretty much to the end of the level, and now I just do this grinding section. Unfortunately, these enemies need to die, and then comes the ending fight where I need to use Lightning Chad, and that's it. See, I'm telling you, Lightning Rod's clouds are built different. They can even transcend the walls of a cutscene. First, I need to take care of these chompies so that my turrets don't shoot at them. I mean, I remember very well what happened last time.
Oh my god, that's annoying.
I tried to save a couple of these chompies by leading them to this area so that they don't get gobbled up by this freaky ass plant, but I only managed to save one of them. Anyways, now I can do the second sprocket glitch, which is by far the one I will be using the most. It's called Sprocket Rocket, and in order to do this one, you need to place a small turret and at the same time jump and enter it. If you press both buttons at the same time, this will happen, and now the small turret can disappear, and the game still thinks you're inside the turret, so you can still jump big distances. Then you place a big turret close to the small one, and you place it in the direction that you want to go in, and because this glitch is needed for the speedrun of this game, pretty much every possible jump has already been found, so I just need to copy already existing speedruns and I should be good. That does mean that I have every single jump saved in my gallery so that I know where I'm supposed to place the turrets, because barely misplacing a turret still largely affects your jumps, especially if it's a very long distance that you're jumping over. But anyways, the way you actually do the Sprocket Rocket is once you place the big turret, that one does have a certain amount of time before it goes away, so you quickly need to place the big turret sprocket behind the small turret, but close enough to the big turret so that when she jumps into her turret, she also destroys the small turret, which causes the glitch to happen. The distance you jump depends on the small turret sprocket, and most of the time you just need to bring her as far away as possible. However, the angle is really important as well, so I also have images of every single angle in my gallery. Once you've done all of that, you need to enter the big turret and exit the small turret at the same time, and you should also be moving while doing this so that you also get some more distance, because you will literally fly over the level. Anyways, that jump brings me here, somewhere around the middle of the level, and from there I do another one from here, and this one should bring me to the end. I say should because I often mess this one up, and even in this run it took me a few tries to land on the edge of this bridge, and from there you can just walk a bit forward and the level is over. This one is quite easy, but the start is annoying because there's a million champies here, so I wasted like 10 fucking minutes trying to get them to jump to the area below, but once that was done, I simply set up another sprocket rocket from here, and that brings me to the final area. Here you can barely see your characters, but it's still good enough to know where you are, so I go and destroy the first crystal, and then I go back here to move the camera and load the ending area as well, and I will say, the Swap Force load system is really impressive. I pretty much skipped the entire game in this run, and yet the end of the level is almost always loaded if you just go to the start of the ending area. Fair play to the developers, I must say. Anyways, the enemies will spawn now, but the good thing is they can attack the crystals for me, so I just wait for them to destroy the crystals and the level is done. In this one, I immediately set up a sprocket rocket at the start, and that brings me here. Now I am supposed to land up here, but I clearly messed up the sprocket rocket a bit, but thankfully you can do the vertical jump. That's the third sprocket glitch, and this one is very simple. Just enter the tank, place a small turret, and enter the small turret and exit the tank at the same time, and both sprockets will get launched in the air. So that's how I got up here, and from there I dropped down here, and I'm pretty much at the end of the level. Here I let one of these arcane robots kill the other one while the camera is freaking out, and then I switch to lightning rod to kill the remaining robot, and then I kill a couple of enemies, and then comes a wave of champies and more of these spinning bots, and in this wave Glumshanks shoots rockets at you, so I just let them all die to Glumshanks rockets, and that's it for the level. But we also have a boss here. Glumshanks can actually be beaten without attacking him, but in order to do that you have to place a turret on one of these broken pieces, which will then confuse the game when the pieces return to the drill, and Glumshanks will geek out and instantly die. However, there is a problem here, and that is the risk of the turret hitting Glumshanks, so because I didn't practice the bosses at all, I completely forgot which piece is the one I'm looking for, and at first I tried placing the turret and immediately jumping into it so that it has no chance to shoot at Glumshanks, but after failing 20 fucking times, I realized that was clearly not the way to go. I mean, I even had to restart the boss because I somehow ended up here. Once I gave up on that strategy and started placing turrets without jumping into them, it literally took me only 2 attempts to get it right, so that's Glumshanks done. I tried to lead these champies away from here, but they really didn't want to move away. They just started going backwards once they reached the middle of this bridge, so I had to wait for them to jump off the edge so that I could do a sprocket rocket in peace. This one is pretty easy, and it brings me here, and I'm stuck behind an invisible wall, so once again I'm doing an up warp with sprocket, although this one is slightly different because I need to get into the tank and then fall off the edge with the other sprocket, and while she's respawning I exit the tank, which launches me in the air, and that's how I ended up on this random rock. But I just jumped off of here, and then I was at the end of the level. I have to kill these 2 dudes with lightning rod, but for the second wave of enemies I can let the champies get killed by the mines or the squirrels. Once one of the squirrels kills the other one, which took me like 10 years to achieve, I switch back to lightning rod for the squirrel that survived, and then for the ending wave I let these enemies kill each other, and when it comes to the last survivor I just wait for him to get shot by the canyons, and that's the level done. In the end you only actually need to kill 3 enemies, everything else can die some other way. So that's 5 levels out of 12 already done without too much trouble. So you may be wondering, what part of this run is even challenging if I'm just gonna fly through every level? Well, now comes the part where I show you just how annoying this actually is and just how many things can go wrong. If you don't position yourself correctly or have the right height, you can easily miss Sprocket's head when trying to activate the glitch. Trying to place turrets in the right position is really annoying and almost always takes me multiple tries. Slightly messing up the angle of the jump or a turret placement can softlock the game, forcing you to restart the level, which is terrifying for levels where you have to do multiple sprocket jumps. Sometimes you can do a successful sprocket rocket, but for some reason the camera doesn't follow you, so you have to restart again. A lot of the times you can easily land outside of the invisible wall, so now you have to find some small place where you can put the tank so that you can do the up warp and get over the invisible wall. Sometimes that doesn't even work and you're still on the wrong side of the wall, so you have to do another up warp. Sometimes the sprocket rocket doesn't even happen despite the fact that I literally did everything right and the placements are as accurate as they can get. Sometimes it takes me ages to find the right placement for the small turret, and then when I finally get it and try to enter it and jump into it at the same time, I accidentally destroy it, so now I gotta keep placing it again until I get it in a good position. Sometimes the big turret sprocket is not close enough to the big turret, so she doesn't even jump into it, so the sprocket rocket can't happen.
Alright, this is actually a brilliant evolved snowball opportunity, if you ask me. Oh.
That's all the issues I've had while doing this run, and the reason why I'm only telling you about them now is because next up, this is where the run just goes downhill for me. Not only downhill, it drops off a fucking cliff, but we will get to there eventually. First I need to show you the fourth and the last sprocket glitch I needed for this run. This is the easiest one because you need to enter a turret with one sprocket, then you jump with the other one, and while your sprocket is falling, you just jump out the turret with the other one and it will fall through the ground. Obviously nothing can ever be easy in this game, so I have to waste time being careful so that my turrets don't hit whiskers while I'm setting up this glitch, but once it's done, I fall through the ground here again and I end up in the tech gate. This is where I just need to do a simple sprocket rocket to the end of the level, but for some fucking reason it just didn't work. I honestly have no idea why, and I don't want to waste your time showing you all the fails, but just know it took me 13 attempts to finally get it right, which is over 20 minutes of repeating this same process again and again. But then again, after Auto Gyro Adventure, nothing can break me, so I held my shit together, got to the end of the level, and now I wanted to try an idea of mine. I wanted to be cool and actually find something out on my own for this run, so I tried to do a sprocket rocket from here to the boss arena, and I succeeded, and then I realized that I can't actually fight Shell Shock without killing the enemies in front of the arena, and that Physio Ninja is always right, so there goes my brilliant idea, which just wasted even more of my time for no reason. Fortunately, I didn't even need to attack these enemies because the spinning robot can kill everything and then he can die in the mud, so now I can finally fight Shell Shock. I have to throw bombs at him, which does suck since it technically breaks my rules, but it has to be done, and I did try to avoid killing the enemies as much as I could, and in the end, the only enemy that died to a bomb was this guy standing next to him, but I honestly think that he didn't even get killed by the bomb because there's no damage above his head when he dies. I just think he died because the boss died, so the game is probably designed that way. Also, I thought about letting the robot kill all the chompies, but while practicing this level, I figured that I can save more enemies if I just try to run around with lightning rod. Some chompies will die, but some will survive, so it's better this way. Anyways, that's finally it for this level. It's done.
That bird's goose is cooked, yeah? Your little bird serves me now. Now this is bird watching. No way out of this bird cage.
Oh my god, just shut up, please, just shut the fuck up already.
Thankfully, this one isn't as bad as the previous one, but there is one annoying thing about it. First, I do a sprocket rocket from here to here so that the enemies aren't loaded while I'm setting up another sprocket rocket here that makes me jump all the way to here. That's all the sprocket rockets for this level done without major issue, but the annoying part here is trying to get my sprocket over the invisible wall. I struggled because I kept somehow landing outside of the invisible wall while doing up warps, and it took me 5 fucking up warps to finally get her over this wall, but after that I just finished the level normally and ignore all the enemies. Fire Viper is pretty straightforward as well. I just do the first phase with lightning rod, switch to sprocket to avoid the robots, and then destroy the crystals with lightning rod, and that's it. Finally, I got some content from a Skylander that isn't Sprocket. Now you'll finally understand why Fright Rider is in the thumbnail, because he can just do his third attack right at the start of the level and it will go below this invisible wall. It did take me a bunch of tries to get it right, but I would much rather repeat a simple glitch like this compared to these Sprocket rockets. Anyways, once that's done, I just climb up this fence, jump into the fire and do his third attack to go through the next invisible wall, and the level is done. Winter Keep is the second contender for the worst level in this run, and once again I have no idea why. There is a simple sprocket rocket that I need to do right at the start of the level, which brings me right to the end of the level, but this took me 30 minutes to do. Like, I don't get it, man. When I practiced this, I didn't struggle with it at all. I always go and activate this cutscene and then do the sprocket rocket, and it works out, but this time I could get it right, but the camera wouldn't follow me and I had no idea where I actually was. Looking back at the footage, I see that I did make the jump on my second try, so I honestly have no idea why the camera decided to fuck me over. This time it took me 9 attempts to get it right, and then I just upwarped over the invisible wall, went back here so that the game loads the ending of the level, and then whenever this spinning enemy is alive, I let it kill everything else, and then I kill it with lightning rod, and there is one wave without the spinning cyclop, so that's also gonna be lightning rod's job. Also in the third wave, the spinning dude died on his own without killing the rest, but I am not doing this shit again, so I just let lightning rod finish those who survived. And one thing I do find interesting is that the game says I killed 50 enemies, even though I counted and I didn't even kill 40 enemies, so I'm not sure where they got that number from. Anyways, that's it for this level. This one is actually insanely easy. I did a sprocket rocket at the start and it brought me to the end immediately, and then I just used lightning rod for this fight, and that's it.
Belly go! Belly go! Belly her!
Obviously I still have to fight Mesmeralda, but she doesn't spawn enemies, so I just need to slowly kill her with lightning rod, and that's all. Now comes Fantasm Forest, and this level has 5 different sprocket rockets that are surprisingly not that hard. Like, I did the first one on my first try. I just had to take one sprocket off the portal because she ended up here instead of down there. Then I did the second sprocket rocket on my first try again. Then I did the third sprocket rocket on my first try again. Then I did a fourth sprocket rocket on my first try again, and then finally I did the fifth one on my first try as well. So yeah, this was insanely successful. This could have been so much worse. I am actually quite grateful for how this level went. Although I guess you could say the last sprocket rocket wasn't completely successful because I had to take off one of my sprockets, and then I needed to place the turrets on their heads again in this very tight space, which took me 10 years to do. But eventually I got it, did the upwarp twice, and I was finally able to get to the ending turret. This unfortunately can't be skipped because it's a boss fight, but think about it. I skipped every single turret section in the first 3 games until this point, so I think that's pretty cool for us people who hate the turret sections, which is everybody. Anyways, here I gotta be extra careful not to hit any of these trolls or these flying ships because you can actually beat Chaos without hitting anything else. So yeah, being careful means this also took me way longer than it should have, but I got it completed in the end, so that leaves us with only... This is by far the most annoying level. First of all, I played normally until this point where I gotta lead these chompies back to this goo area, but I have to lead them to this corner so that these things don't spawn more chompies because they are also gonna follow me. Then I come here, and for this next glitch I need 2 sprockets without any upgrades, meaning I had to buy a whole nother sprocket just for this video, so now I'm stuck with 3 figures of my least favorite Skylander. If that isn't dedication for this shit, I don't know what is. Anyways, I'm supposed to enter and jump into the turret at the same time, and then I gotta place a turret on top of that sprocket's head, and then I jump and enter this turret as well, and now I can't jump with either of my sprockets, so I gotta go back here, and now I can actually push this dude off this edge. Now this went horribly wrong because he usually destroys the turret on my head, meaning I have to go back and destroy this turret as well and redo the entire glitch again, but when I destroyed this turret, my sprocket fell through the ground and ended up down here on some random platform, and for some fucking reason the game teleported my other sprocket down there as well. I have no idea how this makes sense, but I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna upwarp back. Nope, there is a ceiling that's blocking me. Then I tried it here and it still didn't work. Then I tried it here and it actually worked out, and then I went back to pushing this dude off the edge, but he just refused to get pushed, and then in the most heartbreaking fashion, as he finally fell, he ended up killing one of my sprockets. So I thought that didn't matter because I finally killed the guy, so I switched to my big turret sprocket and started setting up that same sprocket rocket that I did in the first level, and yeah, this is why I needed to kill this robot, because when setting this glitch up, I constantly need to place turrets here that would definitely attack him. Anyways, I did all of that, and then when I placed the big turret, I remembered that I need a small turret because I have to go down here in order to activate the glitch, so I had to do all of this shit again, for fuck's sakes, man. Anyways, I finally pushed this asshole without dying on my third try, and yeah, I don't count this as breaking the rules since I didn't deal any damage to him, and then I do this bullshit again, which is actually really annoying, cause I swear this sprocket keeps moving on her own when I'm not even moving, but eventually I set it up at the right angle, and I finally did this jump. Keep in mind, I did all of this bullshit just because of this one enemy that I would need to kill in order to get to here. God, that sucks. Anyways, now I'm back to the usual sprocket combo, and I do an upwarp here, then I do a sprocket rocket here that brings me here. Thankfully this is right next to the checkpoint, so I pick it up because it's really easy to softlock the remaining 2 sprocket rockets, and that would mean doing all of this again, so this checkpoint is necessary for my sanity. I go to the left here and I do a sprocket rocket here, which brings me to this random place that is not even a part of the level, and from here I do another sprocket rocket which wasn't even successful. I flew over this entire area, but I finally had a bit of luck as the game teleported me back to the final area and the gate isn't loaded, so I can just do the lock puzzle and the level is over. Now it's time for his mom, and the first phase has that squirrel enemy again, meaning I'm gonna waste another 10 years of my life trying to get it to kill everything that it can, but other than that, this is a smooth sailing for lightning rod until I get to the hallway before the last phase. Here I'm going back to Sprocket to do the final Sprocket glitch of this run. Basically, the moment this cutscene ends, I have to turn around with both sprockets, place the turrets, and really quickly jump into them so that they don't shoot at greebles, and then I need to jump out of them at the same time so that I get to this area. The first time I attempted this, I forgot about the part where I have to jump out of the turret because I was honestly terrified that I was gonna fail the run, because this is the last risk of dealing any damage to hit an enemy. So because I fucked it up, I had to restart the entire fight again, meaning I had to waste even more time waiting for this squirrel to deal some fucking damage. But eventually I got back here, I did the upwarp successfully, I did the sprocket rocket to here successfully again, although I almost died with one of my sprockets, which would have been actual disaster for my sanity, but I did it in the end. And then I just used lightning rod on Baba Greebs, meaning all these Greebles got to survive, and that's it for this boss. Now all that's left is Chaos, and this is mainly a simple lightning rod run. The only enemies I didn't kill with him were these champies because they can just jump out of bounds by themselves, and yeah, that's it. I beat Chaos without attacking, which means this run was successfully completed on my first try, but god, this was equally as bad as Giants, maybe even worse, because I at least got some fun out of that one. This experience was just miserable all the way through.
If I had to pick a number, I'd say a strong, 7? 6 to 7.
I'll be on the safe side, thank you.